Hi everyone, I'm Gabriel Barboza. This is B2B Insiders. I have a very special episode today. We are recording with Chris Walker, which is, for many people, it's not even a person that needs introductions, but he's an innovator and a challenger of the current B2B reality in marketing and sales. He's the CEO and founder at Refine Labs, a company that have been shaking the B2B marketing. They are designing and building a new future in B2B companies. They have something that they invented and are bringing to the market, which is a new category of revenue professionals called revenue R&D. Very happy to have you here, Chris. Welcome.
Gabriel, David, thanks for having me. It was really nice, some of the things you said before we got on the episode, and I'm happy to have helped you both so much in what you're doing. So thanks for that, and looking forward to the chat.
All right, lovely. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, Chris. And well, my name is David Costa Lima. I'm a co-founder of B2B Insiders with Gabriel. We have this B2B community here in Brazil. So let's jump into the content, right? Chris, the first question I think would be, what did it click to you that demand gen should be the thing and not lead gen? When exactly is that something that happened that makes you start to think? How is this history between the demand gen for you?
Yeah, from 2016 to 2018, I worked at a pretty mature company that raised a Series D and was on the way to an eventual IPO. And that company thought differently about marketing than a lot of regular venture-funded companies, in the sense that I had a lot of time and space. They didn't expect anything from marketing. This company wasn't expecting 30% of pipeline from marketing. So the bar was basically zero. So I had a ton of space and time to go and figure things out and do things. And I figured out, when you think long-term and you understand your customers and you do these things, you can show how it drives significant business results over a long period of time. And that company IPO'd, and I went into another job, and it was a Series A company with 20 people that had overhired salespeople. And my first week, they're like, we need as many MQLs as possible. Go get them. And I got 516 MQLs in 2 weeks, and we closed 0 deals from it. And that was 2018 when I recognized that you can't just go on to LinkedIn and Facebook ads and pump up MQLs and expect that your SDRs and your sales team are going to close those deals. And at that point, we were selling a $2K a year transactional deal. And when you think about going and doing that and selling to Walmart or your enterprise or even your commercial and mid-market segment, you're going to fail that way. Just having your sales team talking to a bunch of people that don't want to buy. So that was the big aha for me. And then I've just seen it over and over, the same pattern, as I've worked with tons of companies as a consultant over the past 4 years, where they're running the standard playbook that they think is the best practice that they're supposed to do, but they're not getting the result that they want. They're getting as many MQLs. They're still misaligned with the sales team. They have all the tools that they are supposed to buy. They have the people that they're supposed to need, and they're not getting the results. And then you go into that company and methodically shift the strategy over a 3 to 6 to 9 month period of time, from a lead gen strategy to a demand gen strategy, and watch pipeline grow, watch marketing budgets grow, watch alignment with the sales team grow, watch the channels and the programs and the creativity grow inside of the marketing team, by switching it from trying to build this like scientific machine of like, we're going to get MQLs and SQLs and SQOs, and we're just going to shove people through a funnel, and shifting it a lot more to how are we going to drive the highest productivity, sales velocity, and lowest customer acquisition costs using sales, marketing, customer success, and all the other tools and resources we have within the go-to-market team.
Yeah, this approach of putting sales and marketing working together, looking at a revenue team, it's something that is really, really challenging. Do you have any advice? This question was not in the script, so feel free to, but I'm sure it's not a hard question for you. But do you have any advice for companies to stop looking at this differentiation between marketing and sales? Of course, it exists, but they have to work together as a revenue team, right? Do you have any advice for companies to start doing that?
start breaking down your budget, your measurement, and your analysis across 3 phases: create demand, capture demand, and convert demand. Your actual AEs, maybe you have solutions consultants or sales engineers. Those are people that are responsible for converting demand. Then you have SDRs, and you have some marketing activities that are done that are focused on capturing demand: SEO and SEM, review sites, affiliates, website conversion rate optimization, that type of stuff. Then you need a budget to go out and create demand. And that's going to be things like a podcast, or paid social, organic social, community, evangelism, third-party events. There's so many different strategies. And when you look at those as 3 different things, then companies would recognize that they're only looking at the first 2 that I mentioned. And so the measurement is going to skew to that, and therefore the budget skews to that. And then it creates this divide between the revenue teams, where you really want your marketing team out creating demand, but all the metrics are incentivizing them to capture demand. And so I feel like when you think about it as one system and you have multiple resources and things responsible for doing things, I feel like you get better outcomes. The marketing sales thing is really tough because it was built on the idea that marketing delivers leads.
All right.
Yeah.
That's nice that you just mentioned different ways to generate demand. Based on your experience, do you think there's a difference between like early stage startups, growth stage startup? Is there like kind of strategies that fits better, depends on the stage that you are?
I just think you have different requirements at different stages. Early stage companies can do unscalable things and have really high cost of acquisition and things like that because they only have 4 reps. And so, but when you actually scale that out, now you're a $100 million company and you have 150 sales reps, and then you try and do the same plays and you have this inefficiency and this high CAC payback and you spread it out across a huge level of expenditure, it becomes impossible to scale. And so I think that like a lot of the challenges that companies face running the old playbook is that it breaks with scale. So you get to 20, 30, 50 million ARR, and then you can't sustain the level of investment, the high customer acquisition costs, the lower sales productivity. You can't keep scaling the business because of the inefficiencies. And at earlier stage companies, often, especially given like the funding environment that existed from pre-2022, a lot of companies could just get away with 4 to 6 year total cost of acquisition payback period at early stages and even at mid stage, which is crazy to think about. But given that money was so cheap and valuations were so high, who cares if it takes you 6 years to pay back it if you're getting 100x revenue multiple? And then those things just went away.
Exactly. Yeah. So now it's that phrase, right? When the tide goes down, you can see whoever's swimming naked, right?
Yeah.
All right. So still in that topic of, that topic connects the marketing and sales topic connects to attribution, right? Because basically all of those metrics that are marketing, this is marketing metrics, this is sales metrics. The idea of those metrics, especially us in marketing, that we have the higher budgets, especially for paid media, it's for us to be able to attribute something for whatever we are actually investing in, and see if that's effective, right? So when we create this new revenue team, how do you think it's the best way for us to still have some kind of attribution and make sure that things are actually working and we are investing in whatever it's actually working, right?
By segmenting your go-to-market engine based on intent levels of the accounts that you target. That recognizing that 1 or 2% of your total addressable market is ever actively buying. It could be lower, it could be higher depending on the category, but let's just say around 1 or 2% that are actively buying. That's where you're deploying SDRs and BDRs. That's where you're deploying performance media for retargeting. That's where you're running Google ads and SEO and investing in Capterra and all the different stuff that companies do for the 1 or 2% that are buying right now. You have to have a budget and you have to have an engine to to educate and drive the other 98% of people that should be your customer and your TAM to want to have a consideration of your product. right? So that is a education and awareness level that's getting them onto your website, that's having them understand other customers that are working with you, how the product works, what category it fits in, how you all see the world and where it's going, what business challenges it solves, what key metrics it moves. And I think you just have to have the rest of the market knowing those things. And I think that it should be an always on engine. And recognizing that if you're not doing that stuff at the beginning, then you're going to be battling over the 1 or 2% forever. And you're hoping that someone else makes the market bigger than you. You're hoping that Gartner makes it bigger, or one of your competitors that's ahead of you makes the market and you try and steal some of their market share. Or that word of mouth is and product virality is what's going to make the market so much bigger. But in reality, like, using your own marketing to deploy your message to your best fit customers is by far the best way to create demand and grow a market. So that's what I would do.
Well, that's quite interesting. I talk a lot with Gabriel about you have the demand it's generated in a natural way that's not driven by you or by your company, and you have your own demand, and that makes the total difference in the sales cycle, for instance. So do you think that the self-attribution that you talk quite a lot in your content, do you think this is the key way to try to measure how the accounts are actually getting to know you? Because when you look just like Gabriel said, when you look just for the regular attribution, the last touch attribution, you're always gonna be focused on the capturing demand, but not necessarily generate demand. How do you see that, the self-attribution in this universe?
Yeah, I think self-reported attribution is a free, easy to implement way to get key insights that companies don't have right now directly from their customers at exactly the time that they convert. It's a very obvious thing to put in there. And is it perfect? No. But is there $150,000 attribution setup that they buy and spend 3 months implementing and things like that perfect? Not at all either. So it just gives you an extra data point to have as an input that covers a lot of things that are typically on demand capture. I did agree with your point there between the idea of organic market demand that's happening through the market without your thing, and then I call it earned demand, things that you actually did to drive, and then trying to have the percentage of overall demand that you're driving it, not that it's coming through other things like that you don't have control over. I did agree with your point between the idea of organic market demand, organic things that happen that are outside of your control, versus what I call earned demand, the demand that you actually create for the market, and then wanting to have the pie chart of how that demand's coming into your business be mostly coming from things that you drive yourself, right? When people come into our forum, we probably have like somewhere between 40 and 60 inbound meetings a month with good fit customers. And like 40% are coming from our podcast, 40% are coming from LinkedIn, like less than 3% come from Google. So like we have most of the people that are coming in, we have total control over our own demand. It's not like a lot of companies get word of mouth and other things that are difficult to sort of like pinpoint and harness and control. And so I think it's a key point there.
One interesting thing that you just said is just one more data point, right? It's not because I've seen people saying, oh, self-attribution is not a silver bullet, and nothing is, right? And many people just criticize that, saying, and that happens with us, right? We see many people not saying anything or saying like online or internet. So it's not an actual data point, but there are some people that say something that is different from the last touch. So
yeah, I think 99% of ours are different than last touch.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Different views. It's not that one's right and the other is wrong. It's that they're telling you two different things. The buyer's telling you typically how they heard about you or what was the most impactful channel. And when I've been listening to your podcast for 2 years straight, or I've been following your CEO's LinkedIn content for 2 years straight, it's a whole different game than seeing like organic search show up from last touch attribution. You just have you get a different insight. Yeah, they pass through Google search to get to our website to convert, but the only reason they were in Google in the first place is because of the LinkedIn content or because of the podcast. And knowing that there's two separate things, you have to create the demand and then you have to capture the demand when people are looking for it. You recognize that we need two different ways to look at it. So Not having it, you just have a myopic view that's biased toward demand capture. And every touch point based digital attribution software have the same exact flaws. It's not about the technology. It's about the privacy policies on the platforms and what it doesn't measure and how buyers behave on those platforms. So yeah, like self-reported attribution is easy. There are other like more complicated ways that you could do it, but I honestly think most companies should start with just adding that field to the form, collecting it for 30 days, and then deciding it for yourself whether or not it's worth it and how you want to implement it versus just blindly saying no to it. It's just weird. I feel like I'm really open to trying new things. I think it's why I've had a lot of success, because I don't care if one of my ideas don't work. I just put it into practice and I'll learn. And it feels like so many people in the marketing department are so risk averse, are like hedging on their career, playing politics, and just not taking strong, convicted action to move the profession forward. And so I'd just like to see more people that are out there trying things and being okay if they don't work, so that they can learn, and recognizing that the learnings is actually the thing that makes you most competitive and gives you the best competitive advantage in the future, because you know a bunch of stuff. The only reason I got LinkedIn right is because I didn't do all that I could on Facebook or Instagram. I tried. I wasn't very good at it. LinkedIn came. I had done stuff for 8 years. I knew how to use a social network. It was the right social network for me. But you don't take advantage of LinkedIn if you don't do the 8 years of quote unquote work that doesn't quote unquote work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in a way it's a gamble for a lot of those marketers, because the 2010 to 2020, pretty much all the marketing discussions were based on tactics. Things were quite easy. Used to I spend X on digital media, and then I can know exactly how much is going to be my ROI, or I can do something in 2 weeks. I can have a little bit of metrics about how is it going. And then when you talk about actually now you need to create content, you need to actually produce content, you need to understand your ICP, and there's no way for you to control that. So it becomes quite a gamble for a lot of people. So they try to play it safe. So they prefer to be with the MKLs and everything. And obviously there's a lot of pressure, the C-levels. So it's difficult for a lot of people. So that's the reason I think Gabriel's talking, asking how can we change this mindset, because it's risky when you are on a company and where we have to respond to your C-levels. I think that for you, it's well, as a service provider, it's a bit easier, because when the company reaches Refine Labs, they are already a bit ahead of this mindset, so they're ready to play this kind of mindset, right?
Maybe a way to rephrase it would be how folks that are in-house and have like this pressure from maybe like CEOs or business people that do not get it, right? They do not get, they are educated by the market in this lead quantity MQL game. And when they ask, okay, so maybe marketing, like what is the actual result your marketing team is bringing, right? How many leads are you generating? How many leads are you delivering to sales? What would you say to those folks that have that pressure of C-levels that do not get it?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think we need to go back in time and look at when this whole MQL thing was built. What else was going on? There was no marketing teams that were doing full funnel tracking, zero. I remember for all the time in my B2B days from 2012 up to 2019, if I didn't install it, it wouldn't have happened, that we had no full funnel tracking. The first 4 years, it was like collect leads and send it in an Excel spreadsheet to the sales team and hope they do something with it. And so we have these people that think that it was easy to attribute ROI back then. The only ROI that you ever said was cost per lead. And that's not ROI at all. So it just, like, because of the lack of tracking full funnel, they created this massive bad behavior of how do we get $50 leads to pass to sales, and then we'll never track the outcome of it and call it a day. And then that became the best practice inside of companies. And then you put full funnel tracking on top of it for the people that were innovative. People are doing that 2016-ish timeframe is when people are doing that. And then you look at the downstream results, you listen to the sales team and what they're saying, and you hear like, gosh, like, why would I don't want to hear this feedback from my sales team. Why as a marketer would I ever send people this way? Why don't I call a couple of these leads myself as a marketer and see how bad they are? How if I look at the data and show how much damage I'm doing to this company by spending $50,000 a month to continue to do this? And those are all the things that I started doing in 2016. And I was like, why the fuck do we do this? And people will have the epiphany for themselves at some point, but that's like, some companies still don't full funnel track. They'll run $100,000 a month in Google ads and not be able to know if the Google ads don't even have tracking set up to know if it's driving pipeline or not. And so like the entire best practice was built at a time where marketing wasn't even measuring full life cycle. And if they were, they would realize that it's not a best practice. So now that we have the ability to track it all the way to the end and we can look at all the lead gen stuff, we should be able to look at and scrutinize every single thing and say, is this working or is that not? And that's the conversation that you have to have as a marketer inside with your executive team, knowing that if you do it, there's a possibility you're going to get fired. I've almost gotten fired multiple times. I am confident enough in my skills that if I got fired, I don't really care. I'll just go somewhere else. Or I'll start my own company or whatever. But you got to be able to have that type of conversation with someone and say, look, here's why we do this in the first place. Here was the situation then. Now we do it in our company. Here's all the tracking. Here are the results. It's not because we suck at running the media. It's because buyers don't buy this way. It makes no sense. Here's what our sales team says about all the leads that we're sending. Here's how much we spent. Here's how much pipeline we create. This is a waste of money. And I like at some point we got to have that conversation. I had that as a senior manager, and yeah, like I almost got fired a couple of times. So, and yeah, that's what I just think that. And if you have that conversation as a marketer and you do get fired, it's a good thing because you don't want to work there anyway. It's like the number one thing that holds people back is working at companies with executives that don't get it in marketing, because most don't.
Yeah. And usually people just give up, right? Usually people just like, okay, so like you said,
drive leads. That's what most take the paycheck.
So one thing that you mentioned the word funnel a few times, and we started speaking for the last 6 months about this journey that is not a non-linear journey, right? It's not only, and a few people that look at new inbound, which is this concept that we are speaking about, they try to compare, only because it's a flywheel, to HubSpot's flywheel, which is actually linear, right? It's only the same in shape because it's a flywheel, but new inbound, we are speaking about education, trust, qualification, in a way that people can start their journey anywhere. They can send an email to the CEO because they trust the CEO and say, I want to buy from your company, right? Do you think that, how does that strike you? Do you think that makes sense for companies to like abandon the funnel mindset and work with a mindset that is like a non-funnel and non-linear mindset, regardless of what the image looks like?
Yeah, regardless of whether it's a flywheel or something else, I like the thing that I think is broken with the traditional funnel is how companies try and shove people through it. I really think that's what's broken. You have a market and there would be a natural flow of people buying, and you try and artificially inject things to make people go faster. Just creates tons of inefficiencies and friction with buyers. I tend to look at, if you're looking at net new acquisition only, let's exclude expansion and advocacy and all that stuff for right now. I think net new acquisition, like, it's not really a funnel. I think it's binary. You have buyers that are not in market to buy, and you have buyers that are in market to buy. And knowing that a lot of people will not be in market and then go in market and then go backwards and then come back in and start looking at your website and then talk to their, colleagues and then go backwards and not come inbound to you and not respond to your cold email and just keep going. And they can be flexing through not showing any intent to showing intent across the buying group, and can go back and forth between those two things. And I think just looking at it that simply would be a good thing for companies. And we're going to have a motion to do things, to have tactics and things for people that are in market to buy, for accounts that are in market and showing intent. And then we're gonna have a bunch of tactics for all the companies that aren't. And so I personally think that would be a simple way to do it. A flywheel concept works great. If someone's not in market, you need to educate, you need to build trust. So those things are sort of implied.
Like, so just so to finish, so do you think, what are the 3 crucial elements that a demand generation professional should be focused on today, you think, like, for now on?
The main elements, anyone working with demand gen, what are the 3 things that people should think about and execute on those 3 things?
Understand customers better than anybody else in the company. Qualitative market research, quantitative market research, talking to customers, things like that. Being able to build Salesforce reports and look at data and Looker or a Power BI tool and be able to analyze key data across the entire revenue engine, not just your attribution software or your leads, across the entire revenue engine, and then pull insights out and then tell stories around those insights why companies need to make certain decisions. So it's not just about building the report. It's really about the analysis of the report, identifying why are these things important, communicating what's happening and what we should do about it to the executive team in a compelling way, and then taking action. That is it's not happening from the RevOps team right now. So I think that's a good opportunity. And then third, I think that you have to become educated and strong on how to produce dark social content through paid or organic. You don't have to be the host. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to be the host of the podcast. You don't have to go on guests. You don't personally have to speak at the events, although I think it's good for your career and things like that. But you got to know how to produce the show. You need to know how to strategize around the topics. You need to know how to orchestrate the distribution. You need to know how to measure it. I think that those skills are some of the most critical right now for success.
All right. So, Chris, well, I'm not sure if Lexi told you, but today is my birthday. I'm turning 39, and it has been a gift to actually record this with you. So super excited, and maybe one of the best gifts I've got. So thank you very much. And is there anything that you want to say about Refine Labs, how people can find you guys, how people can find you, Chris Walker?
Yeah, first off, thanks, man. Happy birthday. People that want to check it out. The Revenue Vitals podcast is a great thing to check out about how we think about B2B marketing and go to market. Then you can follow me on LinkedIn, Chris Walker 171. I think those are probably the 2 places to get me. And then, if you want to send me a DM, LinkedIn can work. I respond to Instagram DMs as well. So wherever whoever works best for you, feel free to connect with me there.
All right, Chris, thanks a lot for your time. It was a really honor. It was the first time that we are doing this podcast in English, so I think there's a couple of things. Anyway, thanks a lot for your time. Sorry for anything. It was just the first time that we're actually adjusting that. But as Gabriel said, it's a really honor for us. So, thanks a lot again.
Thanks, guys. This was fun.